There we go. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Redefining the Significance of You Time for You, by you, because of you. My name is Denise Drinkwalter, and I'm a midlife renewal coach supporting women worldwide to lean into and realize the importance of you. This channel aims to provide you, the viewer, with some takeaways and help you shift, change, reevaluate, and or become more aware of what is possible. We have a variety of guests sharing their life experiences that have helped them become the incredible human beings that they are today. Every one of us has had that infamous free time sometime in our lives, and hand up if you frequently felt guilty, embarrassed, and or wrong for taking time out for ourselves. We are here to change that and support you to see what is possible for you when you take the time for you, by you, because of you. It is an honor and a privilege to introduce and welcome Dr. Lucette Bell to our channel today. Dr. Lucette's journey is nothing short of inspiring and transformative. With over 30 years of experience as a practicing veterinarian and 22 years of owning her own practice, she has faced and overcome extraordinary challenges. Following a divorce, Dr. Lucette embarked on a 15-month battle with cancer. As a single mother without child support and as a self-employed business owner with no paid sick leave. Despite undergoing multiple surgeries, chemotherapy, and radiation treatments, she continued to run her practice, supporting her child and employees. A few years later, she temporarily stepped away from her business to support her brother through a severe traumatic brain injury, nearly losing everything in that process. Remarkably, within a year, she recovered from near bankruptcy, paying off several $100,000 in debt, building a seven-figure business, and eventually selling it. She also cared for her parents until their passing in 2020, all while managing an essential business during the pandemic. With 9+ years of experience as a transformational coach, motivational speaker, and international best-selling author, Dr. Lucette has personally impacted over 5,000 lives. Her approach centered on teaching people to live from the inside out, using reverse, rebuild, and reframe, helps individuals gain resilience, confidence, and belief, and reclaim joy. Through her innovative tools, her clients learn to handle challenges with ease, become solution-oriented, and enhance their productivity, profitability, and inner peace. We are truly fortunate to have Dr. Lucette with us today, and we look forward to hearing more about your incredible journey and your insights that you have to share with us today. Oh my goodness. I just reading that, my heart is like, oh, whoa. And here she is, a beacon of more than just hope, but strength and capacity. Thank you so much for being here with us today. It's great to
Oh,
have you.
it's great to be here. I love, love, love your message because one of the things that I always say is one of the greatest gifts you can give to everyone around you is to put yourself first.
Mm,
Because we are taught it's better to give than to receive, but you do not have anything to give when you don't allow yourself to receive, to put yourself in that space of taking care of yourself so that you have that coming in to pour out. And it's a reciprocal effect because the more we let in love for ourselves, which is taking care of ourselves, allowing us to take that in as a responsibility, as a right, as something we're meant to do, then the more we allow that to come in, the more we have to give out. And the ripple effect of
Mm.
that is so much bigger than 2 plus 2 is 4. It's like 2 plus 2 is 8, 10, because as you receive in, what you have to give out gets bigger. What comes back in is bigger. And we cut that off when we don't learn to receive, right? Because we tell ourselves we're not worthy, or we don't deserve it, or we tell ourselves all these stories that aren't
Mhm.
true and that are not allowing that flow that is so beautiful. And and in learning to receive, the gifts you have to give become so much bigger. And it's not like, I mean, it's one way to tell yourself, well, I deserve to receive because I don't even have it to give if I don't take the time. But just really letting it in, letting that flow in. It's once you start living in that, wow, it's so fantastic. Like, you enjoy giving because you also enjoy receiving, and you let that in. And the people that end up in your circle when you do that is also huge, right? Because
Mm.
when we give and we don't allow ourselves to receive, we end up with takers, people
Right.
who, right? And they suck us dry. And then what we really have to give to the world is getting taken by one or two people who aren't willing to do for themselves. They want you to do it for them.
Right. Right. Is there any um, advice you have, any techniques you use that you support your clients in terms of moving to that receptive mode? Because I find that a lot of people are like, oh no, just what you said, like, no, it's okay, this is my role, I'm a mom and I give, that's my role. And even though you don't think like that in your mind, it really is your reality. Like, I want to make sure my kids are, I want to make sure everybody else is
Yes.
okay, I'll put myself last.
Yep.
So is there
And
any
things
techniques?
can happen out of that that are devastating, like your health. And then your family's
Yeah.
devastated, but you allowed them to be in charge of you in a way. Because even had someone I know who has diabetes or pre-diabetes. And
Hmm.
then rather than making the better choices for food, well, my children don't want to eat that. Well, you can't have permission from them, right? In order to, you have to make a choice, because they're going to be devastated when you end up with all the complications that go with diabetes, because you didn't choose to put yourself first. And they're going to learn not to put themselves first. So we're not benefiting our children
Ooh,
either, right?
modeling.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because
Hmm.
modeling is powerful, 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 much more powerful than anything you actually say. What you do
Right.
is everything. One of the
Right.
tools that I've learned, and actually one of the things I'm working at creating now, because one of the tools that I implemented for myself that was very beneficial, and it is something that is free on my website, is called an appreciation journal. And it's a specific way of doing things, and there are different ones for different times in our lives, but the most important, the main one, is a journal that you prompt. The journal prompts are, what do I appreciate in others? And this is a daily
Mhm.
process. And then you write what you appreciate
Right.
in others. What do I appreciate in life? And we really want to write not things that you, sometimes grateful and appreciation aren't the same, because we're told to be grateful we have a roof over our heads, but if you don't love the roof over your head and you're just saying that rotely,
Mm.
you're not putting yourself in the position. You need to feel better. The whole goal is to feel better and to actually truly viscerally appreciate things. So if that's
Yep.
one or two things, then focus on the one or two things that feel good.
Mhm.
Because feeling good is a really important part of changing the paradigm for yourself. And the last one, but really one of the most important, is what do I appreciate in myself? And this is super important because we have this, as you said, we often have this negative voice in our heads that is constantly criticizing us and telling us what we're doing wrong and what we should have done and what we could have done, and how, and we don't recognize it because it has become our best friend, but it's not really our best friend. It's really our worst enemy, but we don't even know that. And so when we start to put to pen and paper on a regular basis what I appreciate in myself, is we start to change our narrative and about all of those things. Like so I did get out of debt in 3 years, but I struggled for in a year, but I struggled for 3 years before I was able to. I struggled with guilt. I struggled with not good enough. I struggled with overwhelm. And so I was repeating this cycle, and I wasn't being kind to myself, and I wasn't taking care of
Mm,
myself. I was working harder, but not smarter. And I was kind of punishing myself without realizing that that's what I was doing. Because when I stepped out to help my brother, my banker told me, don't do this, you'll lose everything. My parents didn't want me to do it. And I couldn't leave him in a mental hospital, which is where he was at that point, state mental hospital. And I knew I was supposed to help him. I feel like now, if I'd understood the principles that I do now, it wouldn't have taken that long, right? But those 3 years were invaluable, because when I when I crossed that threshold and chose to change my thinking and started using every tool I could come up with, some that I'd learned during cancer, some that I learned moving forward, then I was able to get out of it, almost out of debt in a year, and then pay cash down payment another 8 months for my house while in the middle of the pandemic, taking care of my parents and their estate. And it was because I was using the tools that I had learned and created.
mm.
But some people don't want to write in the journal. So now I'm like, okay, I'll create a podcast. I'm creating, like, my goal is to create like short little vignettes. So like a 5-minute thing that you're doing on the way to work in the morning that prompts you, and you can say them in the car, because it's still going, you do the steps however you can do the steps, right? And
Right.
if when I have people say, the resistance to the journaling, but you still deserve to learn how to do this, and I know for sure it works, so let's create it. And it doesn't have to be the same thing every day, but that's the goal. And that's one of my projects now, is to start creating those day-to-day things that help people start shifting their mindset. Because
Right.
you can't do because the next step is reframing some of those negative thoughts, but until you actually recognize them, how can you reframe it?
Right. Right. Exactly. The awareness comes first, doesn't it? In order to
Yes.
make change, that awareness has to be the reality. And the awareness, do you find that people have to have a desire to want that change as well? Or is that
Yes. I
something?
mean, you can't do it for somebody. First of all, none of us can ever do it for anybody else. And the fastest way to lose your passion and your joy and your purpose is to assign yourself the responsibility for someone's
Mm,
reaction to, or right. So, as a coach, one of the things you have to do is be willing to listen, obviously, and provide where they are, but also let them pick out what works for them. They're
mhm.
trust that For me, trust God, the universe is sending them messages in all different ways. It's not just me. And
Right.
so let them pick from it what works for them. Look for opportunities to toss things out there that might work, but I'm not responsible for what you do with it. I'm responsible for sharing it. I'm responsible for what's been given to me. But how you use it is your responsibility and your choice, right? And
Right.
that freedom makes you a better coach too, because nothing feels worse than somebody checking to see, because we're all individuals. We all have different stories. We all come with, from the day we were born till whatever age we are, all of the different things that have impacted us. That is our filter and how we see everything,
Right.
right? So the filter that makes something makes, it's like, I see coaches using different words, different terminologies, speaking similar things. This is important because people will pick out different things that make sense to them. And so, as each person is coaching in the way that is coming to them through their experiences and speaking, then each person is picking up different pieces from all these different areas that grow their life. Right. And so, when we're responsible for what we put out, but we're not responsible for what you take in, we
Right.
stay healed and receptive and growing.
Right. I love that. I love that. And it's so true. I believe that wholeheartedly. We only can control one person, and that's ourselves. So
Yes.
when you do this work for you, by you, because of you, when you start to understand that that power actually lives within you, your heart, your soul, your mind, your body, once that becomes your new, oh my goodness, this is, I get to blah, blah, blah,
Yes.
then you've got the cape on. And it's not because you're super person, you're superwoman, it's because you're empowering yourself. And
Yeah. And we all have superpowers within us.
oh,
And
yes.
right, and purposes, but it's letting it in. Or letting it out, whichever way you want to say, letting in that care and love that allows you to be all of who you are. And society, in all different societies, create boxes, right? And sometimes our struggle is we don't fit in the box. And what we have to be aware of is we don't, it's not our, it's honestly, we don't have to fit in any box. We get to
Right.
choose where we want to be, all of it. And sometimes that means one of the things that we do that disempowers us is we give other people power over who we are. And we learned it when we were really young,
Mhm.
right? And through parents and teachers and well-meaning adults who think that they need to tell us who we are and who we should be. And every society has different boxes. Every religion has different boxes, even within religions, depending on which sector of it you are. And you sometimes you're born into a box that doesn't feel like you, and figuring out how to negotiate that and navigate it, because the people around you want you to be in that box that feels better to them, and you
Mhm.
have to learn how to lovingly, and I say that because when we're mad at them, when we're angry at them, we're inside an even tighter box, right? Because that anger is
Right.
owning us, and they own us as long as there's anger. But when we understand that everyone around us is doing the best they can with the tools and the knowledge they have,
Mhm.
and everybody's experience is different, and give them the freedom to be who they are, but take the freedom for yourself to be who you are. And there's steps with that. I mean, I definitely have processes, and because when you're talking about close family members, you can't wave a magic wand and say that. You have to work yourself right to
Right.
the places of being able to do that. But the
Mhm.
first step is recognizing this isn't me. The reason I feel bad so much of the time is because I don't fit in this box that I'm trying to be in. This isn't who I am.
Right.
And that's such an important part of uh, of living an extraordinary life, and what you are calling, uh, for you, by you.
Because
I
of
am
you.
trying. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Um, so yes, that's a huge important part of everything we do. There we go. Sorry about that.
That's okay. No, that's okay. That's okay. No problem. That's why we go live, because life is normal. And so we're normal and we're talking normal stuff. We don't do a pre-record. It's not in my genre to do that. I want to have real live contact and conversation. So that's great. Life is hitting and so be it. It's all good. Um, One of the things that I think is really important is to give yourself that time and space. Some of the things you've talked about makes me remember small steps. Rome wasn't built in a day, and don't jump into the deep end expecting all this stuff to happen because you've had a conversation about this. It's a journey, it's life, it's a process. Let it
And love
unfold.
yourself during that time. Like,
Oh,
be kind to
yes.
yourself, because what we do is
Mm,
we're mean to ourselves. Well, I shouldn't
right.
have said that, or I shouldn't have done that. And
Mm,
said, and there's no solutions from that thought process. Like, we're going to recreate it when we're in that mindset of beating ourselves up. Solutions
right.
come when we say, well, I didn't love that outcome. What can I do differently? And sometimes that's evaluating, where was I when that conversation started? Like, was
Yeah.
I hangry, or was I, sleep deprived? Or
Mhm.
is it more that when we're dealing with challenging people that are challenges in our lives,
Mhm.
it's a good idea to to get yourself mentally prepared before walking into it. Don't ever let them blindside. Like make
Yeah.
sure that you have thought the best thoughts about them, thought about how you wanted it to go before you get on a conversation, before you show up in person. Have an out. If you know this has the potential to go in a way, start planning. Maybe you meet them somewhere. Maybe, if at their house it seems more challenging, or right, you
Right.
start to create scenarios that give yourself a better chance and give yourself an out, so it's not so long if it's not going well, that you can
Right.
leave and then rethink how you're gonna approach that.
Right.
So
Yeah. Absolutely. I love the idea of intentionality. What's the purpose of conversation, especially when it's not a drop in or whatever. It's like, okay, what is it that I need to have in this conversation? And what is the best route for me, knowing that I only get to control one person, and that's me. So the other part that I think is really important in this conversation is my response instead of my reaction. I talk a lot about response versus reaction.
mhm.
So if if you know you're going to enter into a highly energized, is what I call it, situation that doesn't make you feel aligned and good inside, then be aware what that tune into your body and those messages, and then what it is that you need to do for you, by you, because of you in those situations.
Yes.
And I don't know if you find it, but I talk a lot about it's okay to say, I don't have an answer right now for that. And I want to keep the integrity of our relationship intact. I'll get back to you. Right. You can just stop the conversation.
Yes.
That's
Well,
okay. And
and there are people where you can't even get that far in the conversation, and if it's a close
sure.
family member, one of the things I learned was, I love you, I gotta go, bye.
Right.
When it's someone that there's never an end to the conversation, no matter what you say,
Sure.
there's gonna be a comeback. You have to stop that, but you need to stop it in a kind way, because what happens in those conversations with those people is at some point you lose it.
Yeah.
And now, in a conversation that never felt good to you to start with, you owe an apology,
Mm,
which feels even worse because
mm,
you don't feel like they ever treated you fairly to start with. And
right.
so when you are able to just say, I love you, I got to go, bye. And so you're not calling them out to change, because you can't change anyone but you. But you're saying, this part of the conversation, I'm not participating in.
Hmm.
Whether that's someone
Yep.
that's criticizing you on a regular basis and the conversation won't end. And
Yep.
so you don't want to get back to them on that, because this is not a conversation you are willing to have in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
That's, I love
Hmm.
you, I got to go, bye. And the
Yeah.
interesting part about that, I did that with a very close family member. And
Hmm.
over time, and you have to be willing, if they're really in a mood, not to answer when they, either turn it off so
Sure.
it's not triggering you and walk away from it, whatever you need to
Hmm.
do to take care of
Yeah.
you and get yourself in a better space. As you develop tools to help yourself get in a better space.
Right.
And then over time, what I learned was, I didn't change that person, but I did change how that person interacted with me,
Yeah.
because they decided they didn't want those conversations to end, and they understood if that is the path they took, the conversation was always going to end,
Right. Right.
but not with me telling them to be different. And one day
Right.
when I went to say that, that person said, oh, wait, I didn't mean to be so negative. And it took me a few more times, because then I thought, oh, they're
Of
changed.
course.
No. And
No.
so I let something happen that reminded me, no, but they do
Yeah.
want to have a conversation. So if I keep my rules firm, they
Right.
will they will honor that, because they want
Right.
to have a relationship with me, and I can set the rules for that without trying to change them. Because of course
Yeah.
they're resistant as soon as
Yes. Of course.
you're trying to change them. But when you're just like, I'm not participating, I'm not, because for me, it took me years to understand this. Even when I got to the point where I didn't participate when someone was speaking negatively of others, or
Hmm.
you know you're still participating if you're still in the conversation. You
Right.
still
Exactly.
walk away
Oh
from
yeah.
that conversation or hang up the phone feeling terrible.
Hmm.
And I learned the importance of how you feel, and that it isn't okay and you don't want to do that. And
Yeah.
so that is where, I love you, I got to go. I,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not going to participate in any negative conversations, or even in a work environment, walk away from that conversation. Just don't
Hmm.
participate. You
Yeah.
can't change everybody
Yeah.
around you, and it's not productive, honestly, because it's criticism, which is what they're
Mhm.
already doing. So it's not productive
Mhm.
to say you shouldn't be. It is productive to leave the conversation. It
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it just says that you're not going to participate in that. It is productive to make an effort to speak positively about others in any opportunity you have. And if you have to speak constructively, think about it in terms of that. Like,
Right.
because as a boss, I struggled with that. But there are times you have to, in order for the good of the whole as well as that person. But if you're always thinking about it in terms of how can this be productive rather than how in being just critical, how can this be a positive experience? How can this translate?
Mhm.
And you at least give them the opportunity for that. Whether
Mhm.
they choose to pick up on it and make the changes that need to happen is out of your control. Providing um, positive feedback in a way that could be constructive. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Mhm. It's so interesting in terms of tool that we've been using since the beginning of time. As soon as we were able to talk, we were communicating, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we are great at communicating. We've been doing it, but it doesn't mean we're good at it. And it's a real skill to be able to communicate effectively. And it's also, I believe, not only important in terms of your foundation being super strong about all the stuff we've talked about, loving who you are. Who are you as a person? What is coming up for you that isn't comfortable? Why is that? Get curious around it.
Hmm.
Learn all those pieces. But within different environments, communication does look different, but there are still some underlying consistent things that occur in communication. And to be an effective communicator, I think you really have to be able to connect. You don't have to agree, but you have to be able to connect. And that involves a lot of, I believe, a lot of active listening and getting curious and asking questions so you can deepen your understanding and understand even yourself more through that kind of conversation. So it's so complex.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's what I say. I think communication, one of the biggest places that communication gets derailed is we're living from the outside in instead of the inside
Mm,
out. And so what happens is when we're taking things personally, then we aren't in the right place to communicate effectively ourselves
yep.
or to really truly hear the other person. And as we get better and better, and it's an ongoing practice. Like I don't feel like I understand it and I feel like I'm tremendously better than I've ever been, but I still have moments when I realize that I am focusing or taking something personally instead of focusing from the inside out. And
Hmm.
but the cool thing is being able to recognize that because
Yeah.
it transforms your thought process, which allows you to have much more compassion for everyone around you. And if you're having a bad day and you're in my workspace and I think that I need you to have a good day for me to have a good day, obviously how I'm going to react to you is a reaction and it's
Right.
not compassionate. But if I
Hmm.
understand that I can have a great work day, even if you're right next to me, not
Hmm.
having a great work day, that it's my
Hmm.
responsibility for me and I'm not responsible for you, then I can have more
Right.
compassion for you. And so I can have a
Absolutely.
kinder,
Yeah.
even while setting, and I think you set better boundaries in that space,
Yeah.
right? If you're right
Yeah.
next to me and you're slamming things around, I may get up and go work somewhere else for a little while.
Hmm.
And there may come a point if that happens on a regular basis where I find a different workspace because I know I can't change you. But
Hmm.
sometimes, I mean, I had an employee that was going through some challenges in her personal life
Hmm.
that came to work in that mode. And when I was able to, if I happened to say something and get something snapped back, that if I went and did my own thing, and because I know she has a lot on her plate and I can't fix those
Hmm.
things,
Yeah.
she would come to me and then the whole rest of the day would be great. But if I were to call her in my office and call her out on it, now she's even more
Yeah.
stressed than she already was. And
Yeah.
so it's not better.
Hmm.
So I didn't try to have a conversation when she was in that space. I made her come to me in a space where she could have the conversation, right? But I also didn't. demand that she write that second figure it out. And out of that, there
Right.
was less and less of that happening at work. Work felt like a safe place.
Right. Yeah.
So sometimes having the compassion that you can have when you stay focused on you, not,
Mhm.
but you know that it's you taking care of you,
Right. Not an
right?
egotistical, "I'm first." Yeah, exactly.
Well, exactly. Well, and in all honesty, if you do it, yeah, there's a very big difference between care. The ego is insecure. So the ego is
Right.
never part of, if you're really secure, confident, and comfortable within yourself, then that's never going to come into play. Because for me, I
Right.
think that when you truly accept your worthiness, for me, the realization is every one of us is equally as worthy. And it's not based on action, it's not based on
Right.
income, it's not based on there are people who are better at certain things than I am. They are not better as human beings. And
Mhm.
there's nobody that's less worthy. Even if they've done terrible things out of pain and disconnect, not because they're not worthy.
Mhm.
And everyone has the opportunity to change that
Yeah.
if they can,
Yeah.
if they can find, and some people aren't able to in this lifetime. Um,
Mhm.
but the
Right.
opportunity is always there.
Yeah. The power is within. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, and the people
There's
that are the meanest and the most vicious, or are the people who are the most disconnected.
Mhm.
They're angry because they don't know the power is within.
Right.
And so
Right.
they see everything is happening to them, being done to them, and they're mad at the world. And things can happen, especially as children, that can cause that. And then it's
Mhm.
finding your way back to your power, because,
Right.
right? However
Mhm.
that looks like for each individual, but reclaiming your power is the key to your personal power, and your individual integrity and power, is the key
Mhm.
to that renewal, and that peace and
I was gonna
joy,
say,
right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. What we all want to find is the peace and joy in our everyday lives. And through the conversation and all of the nuggets you've shared today, people can start to step back and go, "Oh, I never thought of that before." Appreciation. I wonder how I actually appreciate. What do I appreciate? So those types of things are so empowering. And I love too how you shared doesn't have to be written down. It's whatever aligns with you. What makes it become your reality? And it's not because so and so said or so and so said. It's because this makes sense for me. This is where I want to start to move to. And small steps and start doing it for you, by you, because of you, because nobody else can do it for you. And just like
Yes.
you said at the very beginning, I think this is the key that I want to leave us all with is that when you start to do this opportunity that's available for all of us to start to step into knowing who we are as individuals and not through the roles and identities that we've had throughout our lifetime to this point, but really understanding who we are when we empower ourselves, just like you shared, Dr. Lucette, everybody else around us expands without us having to lift a finger. And I know you've experienced that. I've experienced that. And we just want the world to experience
Yes.
what can happen as a result of this work for you, by you, because of you, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
In our show notes, we've added how to contact you through your website. Is there anything else that you want to share as we close off today? Is there anything else that you would like to say or talk about?
So on my website, you can find several free gifts, including appreciation journal, vision mapping, which one of my newest clients said is her favorite thing. The
Oh,
reframe game.
nice.
The reframe game is the next step in changing your thinking after you start to recognize that. If you're going to get anything out of the appreciation, and those are all free, so you can download those from
Nice.
drlucette.net under resources. And I do coaching as well. But and you can find me. How to Build an Extraordinary Life is a group I have on Facebook. You can also
Oh,
find me there
nice.
as Dr. Lucette, and I do have a TikTok channel and a YouTube channel. For those little
Beautiful.
vignettes, when you want just little things that you can listen to while you're doing other things, to start to tweak your thinking and realize that, you know, an extraordinary life, you absolutely deserve it and you're worthy of it. Um,
Mm,
and it's yours. You can create it. Each and every one of us has the power within
right.
to create an extraordinary life and to live for you, by you, you know,
Hmm.
in every way. Because only
Yeah.
you can do you, and you matter.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Make sure that you grab those free gifts. Go to the website that is in the show notes and check out it's Dr. Lucette and check her out on TikTok and Instagram, I believe, and LinkedIn, all the places, all the places. Awesome.
drlucette.net is the website, so it couldn't be
Right.
easier.
We like ease. We like ease. Thank you so much for sharing all of your vision, your experiences. You are incredible, and it has been an honor to share this space with you today, Dr. Lisette. Thank you so much for being here. And
Thank you.
if you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure that you do. You do not want to miss these incredible conversations, these nuggets that are being handed to you on a golden platter. Take care of yourselves and go and do something for you, by you, because of you today, tomorrow, and every day subsequent. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.